The federal government is planning to meet with the leadership of the labor unions in the country to resume negotiation over the implementation of the new minimum wage. Addressing State House correspondents after leading labor leaders into a closed-door meeting with the Vice President, Professor Yemi Oshibajo, the Minister of Labor and Productivity, Dr. Chris Ngige, insisted that the labor unions cannot go on strike over the new minimum wage. Dr. Ngige explained that the demands of the labor unions will weigh down the government's plan to improve the state of infrastructure. Meanwhile, Fidelity Bank PLC is set to give out a total of 130 million naira and other gift items to over 70 lucky winners in the Get Alert in Millions promo. Now in its fourth season, the game promo, as it is fondly called, is aimed at encouraging savings culture among Nigerians while rewarding new and existing customers of the bank.
This press conference, having top management staff of Fidelity Bank and journalists, is to herald another season of a savings campaign. Through its Get Alert in Millions promo, the bank says it's not only impacting lives, but helping to drive financial inclusion.
The mobilization of savings, as we well know, is indeed crucial to economic growth, both Nigeria and globally. Fidelity Bank PLC, as an active participant in the Nigerian economy, is supporting the federal government of Nigeria by making savings a priority and making available critical infrastructure that will aid the increase in level of savings and thus national development.
To be a beneficiary of mouth-watering cash freebies, here's what to do.
You open an account and you top it up every month. If you're an existing customer, 10,000. New customer, 20,000. And if you want to qualify for the monthly draws, you have to top up your account, your savings account, with 20,000 naira. If it's the bi-monthly draws, it's 10,000 naira.
The bank's electronic platforms will also be deployed to ease the enrollment process and deepen the impact of the savings promo.
As you know, about 45% of our customers are onboarded on our mobile and internet banking platforms, and we generate about 30% of our fee income from digital banking. So digital is very critical for us.
I love Fidelity.
Stella Akpangbo is one of the winners in Season 3.
It has really impacted in my life so much. One, there's this trust because Fidelity keep their word. And anytime I'm working with any customer or I'm approaching a customer, a client, to come and buy from me, because of that, they trust me more.
The amount of money this time around is much improved. We have 130 million naira. We're going to have two grand prize winners, one from the north and one from the south. And all in all, we're going to have 82 cash prize winners in various categories, 2 million naira, 3 million naira, and 1 million naira.
The Fidelity Bank Get Alert in Millions promo, Season 4, will last for 7 months, beginning from October 2019.
Let's get some more business news now. Here's Kayode Okikiolu.
Thank you, Amarachi, and you're welcome to Business News. Nigeria's total external debt stock rose sharply by 252.2% to $46.24 billion in 2018, and that's up from $13.1 billion in 2008. According to the World Bank's International Debt Statistics Report, Nigeria's use of International Monetary Fund credit surged about 862% from $242 million in 2008 to $2.33 billion in 2018. But then it averaged to a negative rate of 1% in the last 5 years. Nigeria's external debt stock soared by 30% in 2017, but slowed to 16% last year. In the meantime, the World Bank's Debt Statistics Report further shows that the total external debt of low and middle-income countries increased to $7.8 trillion in 2018, while net debt flows from external creditors dropped by 28% to $529 billion. And the Chief Executive Officer of financial derivatives company Bismarck Rewane says that Nigeria will have more investors, but that's when the country transitions from a bank-based to a market-based economy. Mr. Rewane, who was speaking on our Business Morning program, explains that when the transition happens, Nigeria will have more opportunities than challenges.
The reality is that this is a bank-based economy. transitioning to become a market-based economy. You can't have 13 billion or whatever, 13 trillion naira market capitalization, and the banking system is multiples of that. Everywhere in the world, the markets are much bigger than the banking system, right? So we need to have that situation, just like in the US, where the Dow Jones and the S&P 500 are multiples of total banking assets on its own. When we have that system and we've transitioned from a bank-based economy to a market-based economy, their interest rates will determine not only rates of interest on deposit, but asset values in terms of fixed income securities and equities. You will see all of this will come together. So now you have MTN quoted, you have Airtel quoted, you have Dangote quoted. In another 2-3 years, you have maybe the NNPC and the JVs and all that quoted. People will now begin to invest, and they can now source money from there to expand productivity. So it's not a bleak picture. It only shows a picture of an economy that has challenges, but more opportunities than challenges.
Speaking of a stock market, in just 2 days within the new month, profit taken by investors knocked off about 265 billion naira from the domestic stock market as intense sell pressure on consumer goods counter of the NSE takes a heavy toll on the market performance. Well, let's turn to Teniola Shobowale for more details.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. The month of October is gradually getting off to a negative start for the equities market as sell pressure by investors enters a third consecutive day this week. A massive 5.42% loss from key consumer goods sector led by key components such as Nestle, Unilever, Guinness and UACN contributed largely to an additional 0.84% drop in the main index and 111 billion naira loss in total equities value. Nestle's 10% drop in share price loss placed it ahead of 16 other losers, including Dangote Cement. Niger Insurance led 11 other gainers up 10%, while GT Bank remains the top trade spot for a third day this week. Overall volume of shares traded today was lower by about 24.58 million units compared to Wednesday's session at over 151.19 million total units in 2,895 transactions. And that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Teniola Shobowale.
Well, thank you for watching Business News Tonight. I am Kayode Okikiolu. It's back to Amarachi on the news at 10.
Thank you, Kayode. U.S. President Donald Trump says he wants not just Ukraine, but China to investigate former Vice President and now political rival Joe Biden and his son Hunter, openly advocating an action that triggered a Democratic impeachment inquiry in Congress. The Democrats accused President Trump of dangling military aid as a way to press Ukraine to dig dirt on Mr. Biden. For more international stories, here's Simon Pusey with Around the World in 5.
Good evening from the Channel's newsroom here in London. A knife-wielding man has killed 4 staff at Central Police headquarters in Paris before being shot dead by authorities. The attacker, who has not been named, is also said to be a member of staff of the police HQ. The area in the Ile de la Cité in the centre of Paris has been sealed off. The attack comes a day after police went on strike across France over increasing violence towards officers. President Emmanuel Macron, Prime Minister Edouard Philippe and Interior Minister Christophe Castaner have all gone to the site. Security forces in the Iraqi capital Baghdad have fired live rounds at protesters who defied a government curfew. Thousands of people have taken to the streets in recent days to protest about unemployment, corruption and poor public services. Demonstrations have turned increasingly violent, leaving at least 18 people dead and more than 200 injured. Protesters burned down government buildings in Nasiriyah, Amara and the Shiite holy city of Najaf. In Kut, protesters tried to break into the municipality building. Meanwhile, in Baghdad, police and the army opened fire and launched tear gas canisters to disperse hundreds of protesters on the streets of the capital and near the Baghdad airport. A curfew is in effect in the Iraqi capital and 3 other cities. The government vowed to address protesters' concerns. A rare World War II-era plane has crashed at an airport in the US state of Connecticut, killing at least 7 people.
Is that a fire? That's a fire.
13 people were on board the vintage Boeing B-17, dubbed the Flying Fortress, when it went down and burst into flames minutes after takeoff outside Hartford. The aircraft was civilian registered and was not being flown by the US military. Experts say only about 10 B-17 planes are still being flown around the US. US presidential candidate Senator Bernie Sanders has been hospitalised with chest pains, forcing him to cancel his campaign events until further notice. Sanders was in Las Vegas, Nevada, as part of the 2020 campaign, where he experienced discomfort and was taken to hospital. His campaign team said doctors inserted 2 stents after finding a blockage in one of his arteries. The 78-year-old is the oldest candidate among the 19 contenders for the Democratic presidential nomination. He is among the top contenders in the crowded field, seeking the nomination to challenge Republican President Donald Trump. Dozens of people have gathered for a candlelight vigil outside the Saudi embassy in Washington, D.C. to mark the first anniversary since the murder of the Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Khashoggi, a Washington Post columnist and critic of the Saudi Crown Prince, was murdered on October 2, 2018 at the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. His dismembered body has never been found. A global outcry led to US Treasury sanctions on 17 Saudi individuals and a Senate resolution blaming Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Saudi officials have denied suspicions that the Crown Prince ordered the killing. 11 people are on trial in Saudi Arabia for the murder. North Korea has confirmed it test-fired a new type of submarine-launched ballistic missile from the sea off its east coast. The country's state media also released photos of the launch, called a Pukgukesong-3 missile, which it said was aimed at containing external threats and bolstering its self-defense. The launch came a day after it announced the resumption of talks with the US on ending its nuclear program. It is seen by analysts as the most provocative test by North Korea since it started the talks with the United States in 2018. Climate change activists' plan to spray fake blood on the UK's Treasury building went wrong in a particularly spectacular fashion earlier. A hose was used to spray red liquid at the building, but protesters quickly lost control of the powerful water jet, which flailed around, soaking passers-by. Nonetheless, Extinction Rebellion say 1,800 litres of red liquid was dumped at the front entrance to One Horse Guards Road in Whitehall. Protesters say they are highlighting the money the UK government spends on fossil fuel exploration and carbon-intensive projects. And finally, a painting by the French post-impressionist painter Paul Gauguin's Tahitian period is set to fetch up to €7 million at a Paris auction. The painting, which is titled Teboiro, depicts a stream with birds and flowers in a rich palette of blues and greens, and was painted in 1897 while the artist was living in Tahiti. In 2015, his work, When Will You Marry?, sold for $300 million, making it the most expensive work of art ever sold at the time. Born in Paris in 1948 and unappreciated until after his death, Gauguin was influential in the Symbolist movement and influenced modern artists like Picasso and Matisse. And that's your international news around the world in 5.